Hello everybody, welcome back. Let's have a look at Matic. This is a chart we've not looked at in a long time. We used to look at this all the time. It's partially, I suppose, what my channel was based around. We're doing lots of Matic trading because it was such a good chart to trade back in the day before it went absolutely massively parabolic, obviously. But we can try and work out what's going on with it, I suppose, right now. But before we do that, brief overview of Bitcoin. So Bitcoin's still within this descending wedge and also at significant support right now. And this is where, I'm probably in favor of another test of this 10 exponential in the short term. 32,500 is, in my opinion, what I think that's where the destination of the price action is going to be today. But every other aspect of this chart does point to the down, and that also does point to the down because that is basically a significant resistance of a very small moving average. The 10 exponential moving average, if we're going to get rejected from there, there's no place to be rejected from. Do you know what I mean? If we can't really claim these simple moving averages, or should I say these exponential moving averages like this? So we've got death cross here, death cross here, death cross here. We got all aspects of this chart pointing to the down on the long term. Even the descending wedge formation points down because it's descending. So every aspect of the Bitcoin chart does point down, although, like we said yesterday, we're at a significant resistance, 31,000, between 31,000 or 31,400, between those zones. And so I would be expecting at least a little relief bounce, maybe to the 10 exponential, which is about 32,600, possibly up to the top of this descending wedge. At 34,500, that would be the best we could expect. With a chart that looks quite like this, I'm not expecting anything to break out from this at the moment. It's not ready for that. I would expect over the next, I mean, it could happen any time really, but probably over the next week, we will break down below 31,000 and break down to this previous level of support, about between 28 and 29. And if we break down from there, then things do get pretty nasty, and we've boxed out another zone down here between 22 and about 24, 25. So this would be the next level where we could potentially think about reaccumulating from. And if we do break down from this, in one fell swoop, then it renders this descending wedge obsolete, and we can't talk about this anymore in the form of a bullish reversal pattern, which is kind of what it is, provided we stay within it until we break out from it. But if we break down below it, it's really quite bearish actually. So again, every aspect of this chart is not looking very good, but for the moment we're still within this range, and so long as we're in the range, we play the range for what it is. So maybe we retest that 10 exponential, 32,500. And if that breaks, if we do get above there, then I probably would I'd favour a move all the way up to 34.5. So that's Bitcoin for you. So let's have a look at Matic then. So Matic's an interesting looking chart, even though in the grand scheme of things, things aren't very good. Let me just bring you over to the Bitcoin dominance chart and show you something that is worth thinking about. So I've been talking about this for a while before even the breakdown, saying that look, I know it's nice to see Bitcoin dominance really low, but the lower we get, the more vulnerable altcoins are. So I suppose it's a misconception that a lot of people say, so, oh, but Bitcoin dominance is low. I say, yeah, I mean, it is low, and it's nice to see. Obviously, Bitcoin dominance going lower and lower and lower. But if you're holding on to loads of altcoins, or if you're a majority altcoins, you really should start to think about um, moving into Bitcoin. To be honest, the lower we get, so you hedge from alts at peaks into alts, sorry, around these zones, and even these zones here where we're getting rejected from this green 50 exponential, and then start, I suppose, getting back into Bitcoin at significant levels of support. So here would have been a good idea, and especially here, and it seems to have obviously played out that way, not because Bitcoin's bullish, but because it got hurt a hell of a lot less than a lot of altcoins. Now, it's not always the case. I mean, we're going to look at Matic now, but basically the way I'm choosing to look at this is very much just like any other chart, which is how it should be looked at. We're reclaiming this moving average, the 50 exponential moving average on the daily, right? So this has previously been significant resistance, and it's now, you can see, I mean, the whole way down, I mean, bang, 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 even this big move up, bang here, and then we reclaimed it, a little bit of a time. So we're trying to get above it, and once we do get above it and it gets an uptick to it, this will become, I think this is going to become a decent uptrend for the Bitcoin dominance chart, which means that altcoins are going to suffer whether Bitcoin goes up or down or even sideways, that Bitcoin is the better place to be. Now, at the moment, it's not in an uptrend, but we are seeing the reclaiming. We're seeing price action reclaim this 50 exponential, which to me is quite an important one to have. So if we reclaim this, prove it to be support, and then start to see an uptrend on it, then yeah, I think whether that's in a downtrend for the market or an uptrend, Bitcoin is going to be the place to be, generally speaking. So let's just go to Matic and have a look. So Matic, unlike most of the charts, is finding itself at the very first time, just as of today, or maybe yesterday. Let's have a little look a bit closer. Yeah, it's just today, touching this 200 exponential moving average. The first time it's been tagged since this massive big, we'll move to the log scale, this massive big breakout here, from all the way back down here. Now, generally had a decent fix on Matic. It always likes to, or used to, I don't think we'll see it again, always likes to be supported at 1.2 cents, right? So we found that level of support many, many times. Now, I'm not saying we're going to come down here again, but I'm just going to show you something. If we go down to the RSI, we can see that we're just going down into the oversold area. And you might look at this historically and go, well, actually, every time we've come down to the oversold area, we have bounced phenomenally. Yeah, well, that's true. March 12th, 2020, what happened there? It's the coronavirus dump, yeah? So obviously, most things did a big bounce from here. Second time we came down to oversold was here, and that was in the face of this downtrend. But it wasn't so much the fact that it was an oversold RSI. I mean, that did help, but it also came down to 1.2 cents, right? And it's going to take a little bit of you're going to have to put your reading glasses on to see this, but 1.2 cent generally has always been a decent level of support across the board. Like I say, I've traded Matic lots, and 1.2 cent was always a place to buy from, always a good place to buy. Take it off the log scale, we can have a look a bit better. 1.2 cent has generally been a decent place. So the big breakout here, supports around here, a little bit down below it. Occasionally we do. A big move up from here. Even that massive crash bounced, and that was a 100% move. Double tap over here. Coronavirus, fair play. Reclaiming it here, bouncing from it over here, and then all the way down here to the next dump. So it wasn't so much the oversold RSI that did that move. It was the 1.2 cent. Excuse me. So what the reason I'm saying this is that, yeah, we have hit an oversold zone. Doesn't mean that we can't come down more. I mean, every aspect of this chart generally is pointing down, but it's not as bearish as other charts. The reason I say that is that, yeah, we're getting rejected from the 10 exponential, just like Bitcoin, and we probably will go down lower over time. But anytime any chart, whether it hits a support or a resistance of 200 exponential moving average, I would always expect to see a decent move as a result of that. I'd always expect to see a decent bounce or a massive rejection. It's just the way it is, right? It's a very, very strong and important moving average. It's like the baseline, and it's also a tipping point. So if we start to close below here, things will get pretty bearish, pretty quickly actually, and this will be a significant resistance to reclaim. This is the problem we've got with a lot of other, well, pretty much every coin that we see, really. Most things are below this 200 exponential, which means that most things are going to have a hard time trying to reclaim it. Matic, for the moment, is not below it, it's above it. I think it's only a matter of time before we do close below it, but for the moment we are above it. And so because we're above it, we can bounce from it, and that bounce could take us up to the 10 exponential, which is about 94 cents as of today, if it were to happen today. If it went higher than that, then yeah, we can talk about levels of $1.14 and things, up to these other exponentials. But for the moment, it is what it is. We are bouncing from here, and this is what I would expect to see as a result of testing it for the first time. So we're looking for a decent bounce on this one, just for today. And that would be what I say decent. It's about 20%, give or take, give or take. So that is basically the deal with Matic. Now, if this breaks down, which I think it probably will, if the market breaks down, which I think it probably will over time, but if it doesn't, we don't need to worry about it. But if we can think about Matic, it does like to respect charts, right? It really does. And we can think about this in terms of how it's done it in the past. Where were these significant resistances and supports? So we had supports and resistances more or less around this zone. This is where we kind of tapped as resistance here, and we found ourselves a support around here. We've broken down from here now, so this level here, 95 cents, That's now resistance. Next level below that would probably be these peaks over here. Lots of areas of peakiness taking place around this zone, and that's all the way down at 45 cents, right? So if this breaks down, or should I say, if and when this breaks down, this 200 exponential, I think the next area that we could consider as a potential bottom would be 45 cents. But again, until we break below here, we're not really going to really entertain the 45 cents until we see the structure of this chart change, which would be closure below 200 exponential, and then obviously that will become resistance. If it does become resistance, the next target for me would be down here, 45 cents, and that's a fair old drop. What's that, a 50% drop, isn't it? Really, it's quite a big drop. 44% drop. So, I don't know how long most people. I always say this. I don't mean anything by it, but I don't know how long most people have been in the market, right? But if you've been in the market from just this year, you will probably not really recognize how bad altcoins can go. They can get really bad, and Matic is no exception. In fact, I would argue that Matic has been one of the worst historically. It's taken on a new form now, but it doesn't mean that it can't perform in the way that it did previously, which is that it does big moves up and massive moves down. And this is why I was trading it on this channel a few years ago. It was pretty much from when it came out, because it became very apparent very quickly that it likes to do huge moves up and massive retraces. Huge moves up and massive retraces. Did that 3 times in the space of a few years before it did this massive big move up and made us all extremely rich. But and previously, you were able to get like 2 to 3x's out of this, almost on a yearly, maybe on a 9-month basis. If you were able to, I suppose, pinpoint the lows. So this is all we were really looking to do, is to try and pinpoint the lows. And this doesn't feel like a low to me. This just feels like an opportunity for a small bounce, if that's something you wanted to try and do. But obviously, I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. And Matic seriously does carry a lot of risk. One of the reasons I stopped talking about it so much on the channel is because after the last time we did a 3 or a 4x on it, I just felt like that was enough. That was enough. I mentioned picking it back up anytime it comes down to $1.20 again, which is pretty much where it did bottom out, obviously, and since then it's just sailed up. But it was not so much as a trade, it was more of an investment based upon an obvious area. There was no signals down here, there was just a very strong area of support, and it worked out pretty well. But it wasn't so much a trade, it was an observation. And let's just have a quick measure for cheap thrill purposes. Get one. How much was that? I hate it when charts do that. So yeah, just it was only a 20,000% move, so not bad, not bad at all. But at the end of the day, we are looking very bearish, especially with altcoins. And if this gets reclaimed and starts to go into an uptrend, altcoins will get more bearish, and we could find ourselves in one of those situations that even if Bitcoin moves up, altcoins will move down. Because Bitcoin outperforms everything. At the moment, it doesn't look like anything really wants to move up on a sustained basis. I don't think we're going to see any sustained price action for anything. We will see bounces, like I'm expecting to see a bounce with Matic right now. I don't think we're going to go into any kind of uptrend, not yet. We need to find a bottom. We need to confirm a bottom, and until we do that, we can't really talk about buying something like what I just said with Matic. Finding a low, buying a low. We're anticipating that we will come down to 45, 46 cents, perhaps, maybe, but we don't know if we will. If we did come down there, I might be interested in buying some for the long term. But this, I think, will be one of those charts which is very much a diminished return. The biggest move has already taken place. Kind of, to be honest with you, is kind of what I expected from Matic anyway. I'm not a fundamental analysis, but back in the day, I was talking about how Matic is likely to reach, in my opinion, $1. Now, obviously, it's surpassed that quite dramatically. But I was talking about it hitting $1 when it was trading around about 1 cent, 2 or 3 cents, and it seemed like a dream. Now, to talk about Matic going to much higher than $2 or $3. Where's it possibly going to go at this level now? It's very, very hard to imagine it reaching, massive highs. We might be able to catch a 2, 3, 4, 5x out of it. Maybe we could do a 10x out of it if we hit the new low. But I think when it comes to making, astronomical gains like what we've seen on Matic, yeah, I would be surprised if we see it, launch beyond $10 ever. I think it's more or less hit an extremely high value for what it is, and if you're looking to trade Matic, uh, on spot at least anyway, we should think about trading it like we did when I was doing this channel a couple of years ago, which is to get what you can out of it and get out of it before it implodes. Um, I think what we're going to try and do now for Matic, I think what it wants to do is to balance out at a higher level. So between maybe 40 cents, 45 cents, and 95 cents, and essentially maybe finding that the 45 cent is going to be more or less the new equivalent of a 1.5 cent or 1.2 cent where it was previously. But that is going to take time for it to settle, and we will need to see this. And previously, Matic, like I say, we have a look at the way that it's moved in the past. Big move up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. So it's more or less had a very static and decent bottom. This is why we liked trading it. Right? It was very good to trade. These don't look much, but these are between 3 and 4x moves. Yeah, in very short spaces of time. This is why we loved trading it moment, it looks to me like it's probably going to try and level out around about here. So if we can, and it's going to take time, if we can establish, 45 cent as the new low, and maybe that could be the new base to begin doing these types of trades on, that would be great. But for the moment, I would expect this to break down and come down to that level, and this could be the new low. Anyway, I'm going to leave it with you there, but thank you for watching. Hope you have a nice day. Take it easy.